Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing a tank equally long and strong. It is the TOG, the one and only. You can't really say the TOG without saying the TOG II star, right? Only tank in the game that has a star in its name, and that's because it's obviously the star of World of Tanks. However, while I might be playing the star of World of Tanks, unfortunately, TOG is locked in combat with its arch nemesis, its mortal enemy. It is the KV-2. There is a whole platoon of KV-2s on the enemy team, and while being the most healthy tank at tier 6, I've put a bond durability on this tank. You can't get any more hit points at tier 6. 1,810. That is the hit points of many tier 10 medium tanks, let alone being a tier 6 heavy. I've pretty much got more hit points than most of the tier 7s I think that you could possibly manage, or even most of the tier 8s. It's kind of like a K2 with a durability device, which is only about as healthy as TOG is here. However, TOG doesn't get anywhere quickly, and that is because it's limited to like 14 kilometers an hour, I believe, which is an absolute pain in the backside, right? And doesn't allow you to escape or flank anything very quickly. And that is why the KV-2 is the mortal nemesis of the TOG. The TOG has the highest hit points, and the KV-2 has the highest alpha damage at tier 6. If the KV-2 manages to penetrate you with a high explosive round, which is absolutely perfectly possible, you are losing like 900 hit points from the KV-2. And most of the time, good KV-2 players will not actually fire high explosive rounds at you. They're going to fire armor-piercing rounds, and that like 120, 140 pen that the KV-2 gets is more than enough to contest this thing's armor, which is not very thick at that. The turret front is flat. This was probably one of the biggest jokes of a tank that they ever actually made. I think there was like there's one inside the tank museum for sure. I'm not sure how many other prototypes there were if there was only one. It's because the thing weighs like as much as over a tier 10 kind of heavy. It was designed like this so that it could go over trenches, because I guess the UK foolishly thought that there would be more trench warfare in World War II. And while there was trench warfare, it wasn't really the stalemate. The game had changed, so to say, with faster vehicles making flanking play and making more of an infantry support role. And the infamous German advance with Blitzkrieg really showed that a tank isn't just meant to be a moving fortress, it's also meant to be a mobile, armored vehicle with a sleek silhouette. And imagine when air superiority became a thing, how easy this would have been if a target from above. Yeah, the idea of like a land battleship, definitely not what you need from after World War I, right? So, the TOG, I went to the front, saw this was a disaster, told my team to fall back, because I know that I am not going to do very well against two Porlacs with also artillery on the enemy team. Plus, there's a chance that maybe like the KV-2, even though one of them was spotted on the other flanks, that, well, I guess they probably couldn't have come after me. I think you can tell that I'm just imagining KV-2s and where they could possibly be. That's how much of a threat the KV-2 is. However, I decided that while there are two KV-2s on the enemy team who are my mortal enemies, there's also a KV-2 on my team called Bob, who might become my best friend. So you'll see multiple times here I've asked Bob for help. Bob, come. Need help in base. KV-2, help. And then I give thanks to the KV-2. Bob, come here. Get side shots. And so I'm creating a plan right now, and that is that I'm going to try and bait the Porlacs up for me, while hopefully Bob in the KV-2 on our team is going to go after them. And luckily I actually destroy the engine there of the Porlacs, slowing them down, although they repair it quickly. And here comes the flanking play. Bob is hopefully going to get a big old round into the one that's coming up the hill, but Bob actually finishes off the low health tank, which is a little bit of a misplay, I think. I think Bob should have got the 900 damage bomb into the Porlac. But luckily, the TOG with the Bond Turbo, it's not even really that slow backwards. I'm going backwards at like 11 kilometers an hour. And so I've managed to give the slip to the Porlac. The T-34-85M manages to set them on fire and finish them off. And oh dear, Hummel, what are you doing to me? But look at that. TOG didn't even need to leave the hill. I gave Bob a big thumbs up. Bob gives a thumbs up back to me. I probably should have thought the T-34-85M. I think if we're being fair here, it wasn't particularly the TOG that managed to... I don't think it was the KV-2 that managed to get through this one. It was more the T-34-85M. And then look, the VKs have noticed me. They said 3 marks on a TOG QB, and I go, yeah, as many dead VK2801 on my team, and I call them weasels. I don't know why. Maybe I was incredibly stressed, although I did put like an XD at the end. And to be fair, if they have noticed me and they're arguably, if they were watching the stream at the same time, signing up in a platoon of VK2801 with the 105s, those are also the mortal nemesis of TOG. With those horrible 100mm heat rounds, they can really give TOG a bad day. Maybe that was a little bit mean. I probably shouldn't have called them weasels, although to be fair, it's a bit of a meme in itself having 3 dead VK2801 105s on your team. Okay, I digress. I'm obviously just choosing to only make friends with KV2s today. I'm being nice to Bob on my team, and I don't know where the sass came from against the VK2801 with the 105s there. Alright, TOG, it claimed the hill. It didn't leave the hill, even with the onslaught. However, now we're in issues. We've got issues. I'm still trying to make friends with Bob in chat. Bob, we got this. We will win. Nice shot, Bob. That's not even sarcasm. I'm being damn serious. Bob finishes off the SU-100. I'm just vibing, feeling good. Honestly, if you play like a TOG, you've got to be a bit of a weirdo. You've got to be a little bit of a role player. And you can see we are definitely role playing in the chat today. Okay, so luckily for me, one of the KV2s on the enemy team is down, but there is still Wolf Sniper on the enemy team in a KV2. And I tell you what, I don't want to have any wolves playing KV2s, especially wolves that can also snipe in KV2s. TOG's armor doesn't exactly... You don't have to really be the most magnificent sniper in World of Tanks to hit this one. It's just all over the place. Well, at least you could fire all over the place is what I'm trying to say, and still hit the TOG because it's that large. Alright, so I'm letting Bob know that I'm watching his back. Bob pings the map, I guess because the Churchill 7 and the KV2 might be pushing over the bridge. And the last time the Churchill and the KV2 were spotted, they're on full health, so this game is everything to play for. Maybe we're up a frag, but it looks like we're significantly down on hit points. I reassure Bob that I have the bridge spotted, and that nobody's going to sneak over. And with the TOG, you've got to play to your advantage with regards to the time. You don't have to rush in. You don't have to be silly in a TOG. Although the TOG does do well in silly situations, especially inside nice matchups like this. If you can get yourself into a pushing city fight, then it does work out pretty well. You can see that I'm just trying to feather the shot at the KV2 here. And I had a pixel and I didn't realize you could get a shot over there. But not many tanks are as tall as a TOG. So that KV2 is actually using the 107mm. I think that's a great choice on the KV2. But knowing that they fired, knowing that I've got a decent rate of fire, we are going to be able to finish them off. And Bob was there just to pick up the pieces in case bad things were about to happen against the KV2. And oh my word, the Super Chaffee gets a shot over. I'm going to ping the map where the Super Chaffee is. They're going to damage my track but not manage to take it off. And TOG remains steadfast, hill protector, guardian of the base. How many more phrases can we come up with trying to fight valiantly when you're in a tank that only goes at like 20 kilometers an hour? And that's with a Bond turbo. I know, only Uncle QuickyBaby would put Bond equipment on a TOG. I don't have them on some of my most competitive heavy tanks at tier 10, or my most competitive medium tanks at tier 10, but I put it on the TOG. Gosh darn it. To be fair, it was kind of a slippery slope with the TOG. I think I got peer pressured by Phil. If any of you have watched my streams, you know, playing with Phil. He's Dutch, so of course he's going to peer pressure me into things. But he said you've got to put a Bond durability device on it, or no guts. And so I did. 6,000 bonds. Not sure I'm really getting that kind of 6,000 bond value out of the TOG, but we'll have to see by the end of this game whether the bond durability and those few extra percentage of hit points that it gives will be an advantage. But the bond turbo on this thing, I can't think of a better tank in the game apart from maybe the STRV 103B, the 1030, and the UDES for putting a bond turbo. Because in those tanks, it revolutionizes how fast you can move inside the siege mode. But for the TOG, it revolutionizes how fast you can just move. You can see we're on the cusp of breaking to 20 kilometers an hour there. And also the power to weight ratio advantage on a tank that just has horrible power to weight of 7.8 allows you to get up slope a good amount quicker. Although, to be fair, upslope, you'd probably do better by improving the ground resistances just than the raw engine power. But when you've got a Bond turbo, it's starting to cut it, especially when you don't have a mobility slot. Because if you don't have a mobility slot, the Grouses are only 10% effective rather than 15. Alright, so I'm loading regular rounds now. I guess I feel like if I'm going to shoot a Super Chaffee that really those few extra credits are going to make all the difference here to my economy of my account. I'd probably, in retrospect, just keep YOLOing the gold here, because the 1,100 meters a second shell velocity is going to really help out. So, looks like Bob is going to the bridge, maybe to try and get an ambush shot on the Churchill 7 and the T-3485M. And I realize now, with 4 minutes left on the game, that it's not enough to just wait for our opponents to come to us. We're going to have to go to them. And when you're in a TOG, you want to try and park yourself in a position where you just go, come at me, bro. And what better than the enemy cap circle to be able to literally say, plant the flag to come at me. So, Bob looking on Overwatch here against the T-3485M and the Churchill. Is Bob going to go for a valiant shot? We'll have to go take a look. Oh, he does. He gets 432 damage into the T-3485M. That's a cracking shot there by Bob. The Churchill, however, making their way on. And unfortunately, the artillery hasn't managed to escape. That's not great, because if the artillery had managed to escape, they probably could have come and helped me cap. But to be fair, it looks like there's an enemy down every single avenue, apart from the bridge, I guess, that the artillery could have escaped towards the enemy base. Okay, so tense stuff here. I'm just keeping an eye on Bob, trying to keep an eye on how many hit points the enemy team are. And the flag has been planted. We now have the enemy base. Also, I'd like to take this moment to say, if anyone from Wargaming is watching this, why? 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 After all of these years, have you not fixed the hot dog? This is possibly the greatest skin in World of Tanks, but the sausage is just so higgledy-piggledy. It's like the mustard all over the sausage on this tank. Unfortunately, the artillery gets taken out by the Super Chaffee, and whoa, clutch reactions there for the T-3485M as one of the most powerful tier 6 medium tanks in the game. It overexposes themselves, does 192 damage to me, but takes a few shells in the process, now down to a one-shot. But he resets the cap, and I've only got 2 minutes and 30 seconds now to be able to cap. And remember, you need 1 minute and 40 seconds to be able to get a full cap inside World of Tanks. So it looks like Bob is on their way back to defend the base. I would really like to know how many hit points that Super Chaffee is on after fighting with the artillery, because we haven't spotted them in the longest of times. But it really feels like it's a formality, as I think that the Super Chaffee is going to be coming after me and flanking. So I'm pinging where I think the Super Chaffee is, and I'm just thinking, how can I handle this? Can I make my way through there? Oh no, I allow the T-3485M to get a shot into me, and now I'm a one-shot. But here we go. They get greedy. They look for the shell, and while they reset the cap once again, they have now triggered Adrenaline Rush, as we can see there, so our rate of fire is improved. We're at 1,700 damage, a couple of kills to our name, but this isn't really an epic result for the TOG, but this has been an epic game for any tank. We're here. We've got 1 minute and 17 seconds left until we cap, and the 1 minute and 40 seconds arrives. The Super Chaffee bounces a gold round off us, and we manage to clutch a shell into the Super Chaffee. And Bob valiantly distracts the Churchill 7, and right now I think I was doing a little bit of a jig, a little bit of a dance in celebration, because I knew perfectly well that the Churchill wasn't going to make it towards us. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, even if the Super Chaffee had managed to pen us there, we would have still had the hit points to go after them. So maybe it was a little bit risky for me to fire so quickly there, but I didn't want to try and get them to get our side. I say, Bob, what was his HP? Because I was still a little bit concerned that the Churchill 7 was going to make it back. You know, I'm not the only tank that could use a turbo, and a Churchill 7, it probably could make it back. Bob tells me they're on 400 hit points, and so now we've got to watch out for Emborian with 5 kills to their name as to whether they're going to crest round this corner with 13 seconds left and 38 seconds. I won't be able to recap. I'm going to have to shoot this Churchill about 4 times if I want to shut them down, 3 or 4 times depending on how high we roll. But luckily you can see I'm just angling, I'm angling, and as soon as I get the cap, I'm going to go forwards and towards the side to try and min-max my time. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I became friends with a KV2, the mortal enemy of the TOG become best friends and come together at the end of this game to be able to take down a fabulous round of World of Tanks. And look, well, this wasn't the hero round. This wasn't me going and getting my 3rd mark of excellence and 4,000 damage in a TOG. It was just one of those beautiful games where you have to play to your tank's strengths, or at least try and put yourself in a position to mitigate your weaknesses. But more importantly, showing you that if you do bother to try and communicate with your allies, sometimes they can surprise you. And I had so much fun. This is probably one of my favorite games that I've had of the year, purely from the camaraderie and the teamwork with Bob. And it's so easy to forget that we are playing a multiplayer game. But then again, I digress. I did call 3 VKs on my team who said, "Is that you, QB? Weasels." So I don't know if I could really claim that. One thing is for sure that I can claim, and that is TOG had the hit points to be able to get through this one, and this tank is just perfect. It's a little bit of a filthy role player. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this love story between mortal enemies. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Friday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drops to celebrate the release of the new Polish tank destroyer tech trees, where you can get some Polish tokens, premium consumables, and some XP boosters, and then spend them in the store to be able to get a variety of styles or some of the other community contributors, Saigon and New Multishow, who are featured now. Anyway, come along, get some tokens, or even a free day of premium just for watching a single stream. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.